There.
Live.
All right.
Okay, came back.
Guess
We're
who's
back.
back?
It's new software. It's new software. So bear with me.
Everybody, clap your hands.
Cool. We made it. All right,
Yeah.
awesome. So we're live tonight. We have Coach Cam Green with us, which is super exciting.
From Sunshine.
Yes, from Sunshine. So we're going to do an intro and connect with Cam and hear all about day 2 of Triple Crown. So I think the best way to start is the transportation into the convention center today. We almost lost our lives. So, Sam, Chris, who would like to give the rundown?
Well, like I say, beauty before age, so I'll let Sam go.
Oh, you're so sweet, Christoph.
Nice. Nice, Chris.
So typically, as we're Ubering, I usually take the front seat in whatever, Uber XL we're in or Lyft, And I think that as we're driving, it was not as fun as yesterday morning, where we listened to a little Eye of the Tiger to get us ready to go for day 1. As I played a little DJ. But as we start departing our lovely Airbnb and he takes a left, I think Chris, myself, we realize, hey, we're driving on the wrong side of the road here. And we're on the left side of the yellow line.
The yellow line, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh. And then finally, I don't know, he drove, I would say he drove a good 1,500, 2,000 feet, where he realized, like, maybe I should get over. I got to go right, because I got to turn right to go around, because we're driving around the children's hospital. And but thank God it was so early in the morning that there was no oncoming traffic, basically.
Well, speaking of God, I was praying to God that there was no oncoming traffic. And if there was, it was going very, very slowly. But, we don't drive in this city every day. So I thought maybe I was missing something, like maybe between certain hours, it's okay to drive on the wrong side of the road. You don't know other cities' rules necessarily sometimes. Like, well, between 7 and 9 on a Sunday, it's legal to just drive wherever you want.
I was wondering how you guys let it go so long.
Yeah, I didn't want to be the guy that'd be like, excuse me, sir, are you on the wrong side of the road? And then he gets mad, and then he leaves me a bad review. And then my Uber rating goes down because, it's a big status in life, right?
Yeah.
And then you're just kind of also like, is this really happening right now? And we're going to pray that we're going to get there safely, basically.
Yeah.
I was good.
You did say you noticed it, though.
But you were just...
It was all right. We made it.
But it did lead Kara and I to reminisce about, gosh, how long ago was that now, Kara? It was a while ago at Crossroads in Denver. We were departing.
Our dads were still alive, so it's been a while.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so that says a lot, because yes. And so we are, when Crossroads was a great qualifier back in the day, we're there and we're getting ready to head to DIA and call the Uber and from the hotel, and we get in, and this guy was he was cray. I mean, he was just batshit crazy. I'm sorry. Like, he just started spouting out stuff, and Kara and I kept looking at each other. I don't know if we were maybe trying to hold hands at some point, because we were literally scared for our lives, and we're like literally texting our parents, like, we're in an Uber. We're not sure if we're going to make it to the airport. We just want to let you know in case something happens, because we are scared that we might die, like literally die by this Uber driver. Not because of his driving, because he was on a rant about everything, basically. Wow. Yes. We couldn't get out of the car fast enough when we got to the airport.
Cam, did you make it to the convention center okay? Did you have any near-death experiences?
I did. We were completely unscathed. It was pretty smooth and fast. Although, waiting in the convention center lobby at 6:30 in the morning for however long to go up that escalator wasn't all that fun, with packed in like this next to people.
I'm sure.
But other than that, it was a pretty boring way into the convention center. Not like you guys.
At least it was warm. Is it killing you? Can you even imagine that people live in this cold weather?
No, I walked. I think it was like 750 feet from my hotel to the restaurant that we ate dinner at tonight. And I was literally in pain by the time I got inside. I was like, my face was freezing off. I said, I don't understand. And I've been in cold before, but I don't know. For whatever reason tonight, it was pretty rough.
Yeah, it was awful.
Yeah.
Awful. We changed our flights so we could go home tomorrow night. We were supposed to go home Tuesday, but we were afraid that we weren't going to make it out. And there was going to be a snowstorm.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
Good call.
Do you have any interesting or crazy Uber stories?
Nothing quite as interesting as that. The worst experience I've had was a guy who I think literally just got his electric car. It was like a Polestar or something. And if you've ever driven an electric car, like, when you let off the gas, the car like practically gives you whiplash until you figure it out. And I live in Palos Verdes, and it's just completely windy hills on the way. So that was just the roughest drive ever, because and also he didn't speak English, so I was trying to tell him to like take it easy. He didn't understand what I was talking about, and so I almost lost it in his car on the way to the airport. Of course, I was on the way to Vegas for a volleyball tournament, but it was just a 45-minute drive of like, I'm gonna throw up at any second if this guy doesn't figure it out. And he finally figured it out when he was getting my bag out of the car, because I had to tell him like, dude, you can't drive like that. And he was like, he didn't understand what I was saying, and finally I just like gave him this sign. He was like, oh, sorry. So yeah, not as exciting as driving on the wrong side of the road for a mile, but yeah, it wasn't fun. I'll tell you that. Yeah, like, dude, I was like this. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Cool. All right. Day 2, Christoph, let's go.
Well, okay, so one of the reasons we're really, really happy for Cam to be joining us. First of all, I think we met through boys volleyball when I actually covered boys volleyball like almost 15 years ago.
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, were you was it SCVC? Were you coaching at the time, or?
Probably then. Yeah, I was at SCVC, because I was at SCVC for the majority of my career, but I was in the LBC before that. But yeah, it was for sure SCVC.
Yeah. So for those of us joining us, I mean, Cam is one of the most grounded coaches, very dialed in. So we're very, very excited. But you have like the biggest like what if of the day. Like, what if you guys just pulled out that match? So you coach Sunshine 16 LA, and you played Arizona Storm 16 Thunder, silver medalist from 15 Open last year. I mean, this is an established team. Yeah. Everybody's gunning for them, and we saw a lot of blowouts in these kind of challenge matches. I mean, and you almost the biggest upset of the day. You lost 15-13 in game 3. We want all the insight. We want all the drama.
Yeah, there's kind of a lot, which is funny. Well, first of all, I think 13-12, I said to my assistant Sam Jones, I said, what if we actually win this match? And we started cracking up on the bench at like 13-12. And the most intense time, we just started laughing because, going in, obviously we knew who they were, right? And ironically, of all things, like, I train a lot of athletes from all over the place privately. And it just so happens that I train their setter, and she comes out once a month possibly and works with me from Arizona. And so when I saw the bracket yesterday, I texted them. I go, are you guys Thunder? Is that your team? And they said, no way. And I'm like, oh dear God. And so I just, physically, like, the teams are just different, right? Like, we're a fun little team, but we have to work a little bit differently because we don't have the physical size as everyone. So, we try to go faster, use the back row, and just be as creative as we can when we're attacking. And so going into the morning, it was just like, as a coach, you talk all the time, like, okay, we actually have to play as if we have nothing to lose because we don't have anything to lose. It's one thing to say that, but it's also difficult to actually play like that and really grasp onto that concept, because you feel this pressure, and all of a sudden you're playing on a court and there's 35 D1 coaches of the biggest programs in the country around the court watching, because they want to see, Kendall and Farrah and the girls on the other side of the court, which we totally understand. But So also like wrapping, like this is the first time. Yesterday there was a lot of coaches around, and but today was, it was pretty cool, and to finally just watch my team just sort of settle in and just play was really, really cool. Like I get chills right now talking about it, because it's like, as a coach, afterwards I said, look, man, we lost that game, but what a huge win for us emotionally, a huge win for us mentally. It's fun to be in those games where you can tell that like people in the crowd start like texting their friends like, hey, what's happening over here? And then all of a sudden you look around, there's so many people around the court. It's one of my favorite things, and I like grateful for all those moments, but it was cool. And I think they definitely knew that we were a lower level team than them physically, and so I don't think mentally they were as locked in, which we were hoping for. And I talked about like, hey, we have to take advantage of that. If this is what's happening, like that's good for us. And so to watch us do what we did was, it's my favorite moment of the season for sure, even though we came away with a loss. But just a battle, we were scrappy, and you could tell they were frustrated, so I've been on that end of the spectrum before, and this was a fun way to be on this side of it. So yeah, it was cool. I wish we could have scored those last two, but it was definitely fun to be a part of.
Yeah, fun to be a part of. Is there like the competitor in you? Is it like privately, are you just like, dang man, we missed like a really good opportunity to kind of get out of there with a win? Or is it just, take us through that thinking?
Well, I mean, it's a good point, because yeah, of course, right? Like, especially because I can understand the game that we can play, and I know that, we had opportunities. So yeah, especially when it got close. I think there was an interesting side of it where you don't really expect to win the match, and you just want to really compete. But then when you realize like, oh, we actually can do this, then like the juices flow a little bit differently. Like I was fist pumping and going kind of crazy, which I'm known to do, I think. But yeah, of course, man. Like I wanted to win that when we got there. I was like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, but also like when you walk away, you're like, you don't have that same sort of crushed feeling, because like they're a powerhouse, and we respected the hell out of them, and it was cool. But of course, yeah, I get competitive.
Yeah, like the confidence can kind of be like the chicken and the egg. Like, do you have it first, or do you need to win to get it?
Yeah.
Does a match like that, does it make the team more confident despite the loss, or what's your takeaway from that?
Oh man, I think it was everything for us. I had basically the same team last season, and we added a couple new pieces this year. But we had been like traditionally this team that's like top of D2, bottom of D1 at home in SCVA, and it kind of felt like we just weren't there. We were right here, but we just never were there. And we play these matches, like we play these tough teams, these top teams. And the first set, we would always do it, like be close. And then we just like barely lose at the end. And then the next set, we kind of get blown out. And it just was a reoccurring theme. So a couple of weeks ago, I just told him like, hey, let's stop avoiding this topic that we have trouble like closing these games, and let's just look at it face on and go, all right, well, we're just gonna beat it, right? Like let's stop avoiding it and not talking about it, because you're not supposed to talk about it. And we just brought it up, and we were like, okay, like this is what we've done, but here's what we've created, and we have the opportunities to win some of these games, and here's how we're gonna do it. And winning yesterday, like we got second in our pool, but we were almost first place. But it showed us that we could win those big ones. And then playing today, like you should have seen their faces when it was over. They were smiling, and no doubt this is a game changer for this team, just in confidence. And our area is so packed with talent, right? We're just loaded. Every club has these insane teams, and so to feel like we belong in that group, I think it's really special for them. So for me, it's really cool to see that look on their face,
Awesome. What qualifiers are you all going to this season?
We're going to Vegas and Salt Lake. and then we'll let the chips fall where they may, and go. But yeah, so we're not doing another one. It's, I go back and forth on like the difficulties that we add to the families of just adding travel after travel after travel in search of this bid, which I know is incredibly important for a lot of reasons, but it's I think it's a really interesting thing in our sport is that we're just constantly adding more to an already like really expensive sport. And I think maybe now that I'm a parent of a son in club volleyball, and you just look at things a little bit differently. So we're doing just this tournament and then 2 qualifiers, and then either nationals or AAUs, depending on how it all goes.
Cam, how old's your son?
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have a 5-year-old. Oh, he's almost 6. He'll be 6 in March. Then I have a 13-year-old stepson and a 26-year-old stepdaughter. So my 13-year-old, he plays for SCVC on the 13s team. So, but yeah, I have my little guy's mine, and he's like I miss him a lot right now. I can't wait to get home tomorrow. But he's doing all the sports, so he'll be in volley pretty soon, I'm sure, because he just lives in my gym.
Oh, that's awesome. I was going to say, which one of us loves Vegas the most?
I don't know which one.
Well, not me. Not Sarah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I see her raising her hand in there.
Sam's a gambling woman.
Nice. Yeah. I'm not a big gambling fan. I like blackjack a lot, but that's about it.
I miss the days when the SDVA had the qualifier in Anaheim. I hate Vegas.
It was cool, right?
Vegas.
Hey, speaking of that though, I was talking with a college coach earlier, and then somebody came in. He's like, "Hold on, I got to talk to this." And she's like, "Oh, you're Sam, right?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I spun your ring, the spin it to win it ring that I have."
Wow.
That's awesome.
Ironically.
Yeah. The one thing we enjoyed last year in Vegas Nationals is Sam has some sort of status because she's likes to go. So we got like free valet at the valet, so we could just roll up and park, and it was like she's like, "I got this. Here's my card."
Here's
and I'm
like,
Chris. Like, how do you even get this?
That's amazing. I mean, if you're gonna go to Vegas, that's the way to do it, because there's too much other things going on. So if you can get taken care of and dialed in, yes. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what's going on with Sunshine as a club. We always like to give coaches who are gracious enough to join us to kind of give some insight on their club and let people know what's going on.
Yeah, I think right now the main focus has been, of course, is just trying to rally together to help all the families that were affected by the fires. I think we had close to 100 families that no longer have a home, right? So it's been cool to watch everybody help. I think we did what we could. We hosted a clinic right away and raised money through gift cards for people so they could actually get some new stuff, whatever that they needed. A lot of Target and Amazon gift cards, and we raised some pretty good money with that, which was cool. And it was fun. I get to do a clinic with Dustin Watton and John Shea and John Basilio, like my favorite coaches. So that was cool. But really, it's just trying to be there for these families, and it's also been really cool to watch how volleyball has kind of kept everybody together, because they really needed it, and they needed a place to be and belong and kind of feel normal. So that part has been really special to kind of watch, and so yeah, we're sticking together, and I think everyone's going to come through this stronger and a little closer knit. Sunshine's got a lot of teams, so it was difficult to nobody knows everyone because there's so many teams, I think, but this has really brought everyone together, and I'm grateful to have helped in any way I could, and just be a part of help giving people something to like feel good about.
They have, I know the high academic camp has been announced. That's always one of Sam and I's favorite camps to really promote and put out. An amazing camp. such an amazing job with the camp. Anything else, like in terms of training for UCAM, in terms of what you do kind of outside of obviously coaching your team? If people are interested in training with you, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. I just opened, there's a facility with Sunshine, but it's not like club affiliated, but I did do it with them, where it's in Gardena, right off the freeway. We have 2 courts. We built a mezzanine in there, so we have a really cool lounge area. We got a pool table, couches. I got a TV going up. My wife created this really cool little Zen meditation area. And then this week we're building a weight room that's going to go in, and we also just added a cold plunge and a sauna. So it's going to be like a pretty epic place to train. Now the sauna and the cold plunge will be for the adults only, but so I think mostly excited about that than everybody else. But anyway, yeah. So it's I do private and group lessons on a daily basis. I do anywhere from like 1:30 in the afternoon all the way to 7:30 at night, and group lessons on the weekend. The group stuff is really fun because it kind of creates this competitive environment, which is, the one-on-ones are always cool, I think, but for me, like Chris, you said earlier, I get pretty competitive. So if I'm in an environment like that, I want to raise the standard of my play, right? So that was the idea behind the group lessons. I do a lot of setting and libero stuff, but yeah, like anyone that's interested, I would love it. You can always reach out to me. My Instagram is Coach Camp Volleyball. And pretty easy to find, and I would love to. It's pretty cool. I get people that have flown out from New York to train, from Arizona now to train, and I don't take it lightly. I have a lot of gratitude for what I do in this game, and I guess I just have so much love for the game that it's really cool to do what I do, right? So I never get tired of teaching, and I love sharing. I love talking with coaches about stuff, and learning from other coaches, because I think like everyone's got all these cool ideas, and like the idea that there's not just one way to play this game, I think is massively important for our community to understand, because there's just, I think I get a lot of, kids that are, their club coaches are, you can't do it that way. And, I think that's something that as coaches, we all got to look at and just go like, hey, if it works, like, why can't it be okay? So I kind of embrace all ideas. I spent a lot of time learning. I teach a lot of the same stuff that everyone teaches, since I've been doing this for 30 years, but I've also like really looked at the game, like I'm watching the game right now, the Love Game's on as we speak, and just to see how it's changed, and we have to change too. So I think if you do train with me, hopefully you're open to new ideas and concepts, and kind of with the game, the way the game's played today versus how it was played maybe 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, for sure. Chris, do you want to give us a rundown of all things volleyball in the gym today?
I do. I wanted to backtrack real quick because Cam, you've been going on Instagram a lot and kind of doing these talks and just kind of sharing a lot of insight, and I've seen them, and you kind of have a diverse kind of thing. What are some of the things that you're sharing, and what are you really wanting to kind of get the word out about?
I appreciate that so much, Chris. I think what I've seen over the years is that this game, although we love it so much, has become sometimes stressful for kids and for athletes, and I've seen a lot of the joy in this game leave because we're so obsessed with the results that we need, because we have to finish here, we have to get our bid here. If I don't, I'm not going to get seen by college coaches, and I'm not going to get a scholarship, and like my entire plan is out the door. And it's like, this is the wrong reason to play this game. So I think when I talk a lot about ideas to like maybe deal with anxiety on the court, like today, for instance, all these college coaches around. So I like to bring up things that I talk to my team about in terms of how to deal with, there's Stanford and Texas and, Kentucky, and they're all just sitting there. And how do you deal with that pressure? So I like to give tools to the kids on how to understand how to, take a breath and relax and actually try to play the game with joy versus like having to be good all the time, or else it's going to go wrong, and trying to teach them that there's different ways that's going to allow them to be the best version of themselves. So I touch on, everything, every kind of scenario that comes up through club and high school, and even as far as parents goes, like giving advice with the parents. And I think that's the biggest message, and I have my wife to thank so much for sort of like opening me up to different ways to look at this game, and to even take a look at myself and understand how I was being received from my players. And she's been instrumental in kind of changing the way I do things, and it's made me a better coach for sure. So yeah, I guess the answer is to really help these kids understand that they're going to be okay, no matter what happens. Like, this is their path, and their path is going to be exactly what it's supposed to be. I didn't learn that until real late in life, so I want to try to get these kids to understand that, like, you're good, and you're going to get through all of this, and it'll be just the way it's supposed to be for you.
Sam, you probably don't deal with that on an everyday basis at all.
No. Every day. I probably talked to a couple of our kids about that today again as well. Like, one's battling an injury, and it's just like, there was a coach here. I'm like, you got to celebrate this, that you're here. And so I was like, you have a level 2, level 3 ankle sprain, and you figured out a way how to be out on the court. There's not a lot of kids that would be able to do that. Like, let's celebrate. Like, you were playing well. Like, it's going to be okay. Like, I think I said that to somebody else. I said, I don't know, when I was coaching collegiately, sometimes, like, your kids don't come in every day to practice like 10 out of 10, right? Like, that as you've been coaching your club team and your high school team all these years. Like, so I said I used to sometimes have our players like just some of them would just like put on the board, like, okay, out of a 10, how are you feeling today? Just so we had kind of understood that as coaches. And some people would put like a 6 or a 7. Some people it was a 9. But whatever it is, like, if you're at a 6, you're going to give your all for that 6, whatever that is at the end of the day, and celebrate that, and know that you left it all out here during our practice, and we're going to celebrate that. And for some people, that 6 is probably better than some people's 10. So let's be honest with that as well. But I think but I think knowing that that's okay, and relishing that, but yes, having those conversations all the time, for sure, especially in this event, which is an amazing tournament. But let's celebrate that we get to be here, all of us, and play some volleyball. Yeah.
For the record, I'll take Kendall's 6 from Storm or Olivia Henry's or
that is pretty good. Watching the warm-ups this morning was awesome between our two teams, because it was just
I thought you were going to say they were the exact same.
Oh, no. Watching that team warm up, you're like, well, that's just a different level than we're used to seeing on the other side of the net. So that's why it was so much fun today, part of that.
Yeah. I want to throw in real quick too. I was listening something last week, and you're talking about just the pressure and this and that, and what I was listening to, it had to do with a message being spoken about, affirming yourself. We want to look for affirmation from outside sources and somebody giving you feedback or somebody telling you this, but sometimes it's about just looking in the mirror and going, affirming yourself. I don't necessarily feel like this or that today, but you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go out. I'm going to give it everything I have, and where things fall, but I'm going to own it. I'm going to go out because I'm me and I can do this. Right. And I think sometimes we need stuff from outside sources instead of looking internally and understanding, like, we have a lot of what we already need within us.
Yeah. When I talk to the teams about these things, I think it's really interesting that I think we're all guilty of this, right? So, in this context, it was more like the dialogue that we have with ourselves on a point by point basis is almost always negative, and it's mind blowing, right? Like, I was an outside hitter, and I remember, like, if I didn't pass it like on the money, like a 3 pass, I was all like, if it was slightly towards area 4 or slightly towards area 2 or, 8 feet or 10 feet off the net, it was always this like, oh, I'm sorry. Right. And then but all of those passes you're able to run an offense from, and yet we're just beating ourselves up over it. So my message is like, what if we actually give ourselves credit? Because we almost never, when we pass a perfect pass or set a perfect ball, we almost never give ourselves credit and like go, hey, that was a pretty good play, man. Like, good job. Like,
Right.
because maybe we expect to do it, but then as soon as it's wrong, we're beating ourselves up. So how do we live in that space and still be the best player that we can be when we're constantly telling ourselves it's not enough, right? It wasn't good enough. I didn't do it enough. So we always talk about like flipping the script into like this idea of recognizing the good. And we have a lot of times on my board, it says no wins left on the table, which is like everything's a win. Like a good pass is a win, an ace, or like you're a good teammate, like you supported someone, or maybe you actually were really nice to your parents today. Like those are all wins, right? Like we got to talk about the wins instead of just the losses. Yeah. And it just feels better, right? So then, and we always say, okay, well, what happens when you feel better? Do you tend to play better or worse? And everyone's like, well, better. Yeah, it's not perfect, but it helps, right? So I think when you pay attention to like actually what you're saying to yourself, it's shocking, right? Like most of our dialogue is negative, and as adults we do the same thing, right? So it's cool when I get to talk about it, because I also got to remind myself, like I got to coach myself sometimes too. But that I think is part of what your point was.
Yeah. Cam, I'm going to start calling you for therapy sessions, because I told my 10-year-old to pull her head out.
Cheaper than our therapist, probably. Well, volleyball is like is in some ways almost that like opposite or backwards sport. And what I mean by that is, so yesterday, okay, well, let me start with today. Today I saw 2 girls make tremendous effort, kick the ball over the net to keep rallies going, and the teams lost both points. Yeah. So it's like, here you are, we're giving it our all, we're doing whatever we can to get that ball over the net. They get it over the net, they lose the point. I saw a point yesterday where a girl goes up and just takes a huge swing, and the girl playing left back wears it off her face, gets the ball up, and of course they win the point out of it. So it's like, that's what it is. Sometimes this sport does not make sense. You could just give it the ball and it doesn't work out, and then you could somewhat be embarrassed or do everything wrong, because nobody's coaching like, hey, you know what? Don't worry about your angle. Just stick your face in the right spot and get the ball up. Point, So like to your point, it's a weird sport in that sense. Most of the time in basketball, to make the shot, you pretty much have to do something right. You can't just like bounce the ball off the ground and it's going to go in the basket.
Yeah. I know our sports. That's also like the only sport where you play defense to score, really. It's funny. I mean, when they went to rally scoring, it changed that, but before that, it was crazy. And like the only way to actually score points is play defense. It's like a backwards sport.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good times. Carrie, you're asking about the fun stuff from the day.
Well, I wanted you to give a rundown. Yesterday, you evaluated, I don't know how many, I know it was over 100 teams. So
a lot of teams. Well, one of the things we talked about yesterday, and it's like not take, if you're fortunate enough to make Power Pool, it's you have this safety net. And we talked about Arizona Storm's 14s team yesterday, and they went 0-3. Do you know who's still alive and in the quarterfinals tomorrow?
Storm.
Easy Storm.
That's right. So, that's sometimes what, like, why everybody wants to be in the Power Pool, and it's like, hey, take a deep breath. It doesn't matter. You're still in it. Their reward, though, is they get to play A5. So, well,
that's going to be a tough match.
Quick shout out. We it's Kari Knox. I learned today, not Carrie. We were wrong with that last night, and we're really big on getting names right. Because with Kara, how do you feel when people call you Kara?
I love it.
Is that a pet peeve of yours or no?
Yeah, I correct people like the first couple times, and then after I just think you're a moron when you keep calling me Cara, and I'm like, I give up.
Kara,
I give up. At a
Kara, I'm
certain
like,
point, you
Kara? It's Kara.
Yeah. Do people ever butcher your name, Cam, or is it pretty easy to get right?
Oh, well, only when I'm like ordering coffee or something. If I say Cameron, which I don't ever say, they just think it's Kevin. And if I say Cam, then they write Ken usually. So I don't know if I need to learn actually how to say my own name. I don't know if that's a problem, but no. My wife's name's Donica, and it's spelled like Danica. And so people that have known her for 20 years still call her Danica, and she just is like got tired of correcting everyone. So because it's spelled the same, but it's pronounced Donica. So she feels your pain.
That makes sense. Going on with the 14s, though, a lot of the teams that we were kind of hyped about, they're still in it. Dallas Skyline's in it. KC Power's still in it. Legacy's still in it. Mad Frog's still in it. They're joined by Coast and Dynasty. They'll be looking to pull off some upsets. So super excited to see how it all plays out. I feel like we might have put the curse on winning Triple Crown, though, meaning you're not going to win national. So we'll see if anybody kind of tanks tomorrow on purpose because they know what's up.
It's all about your predictions, Chris.
Well,
we'll get to that in a moment. I have a funny story I'm sure Cam knows about well.
Yeah, I don't like your predictions very much, actually. Because when they come true, it pissed me off.
So in 16s, we shouted out the Arizona teams yesterday. Now they're going to meet in the morning with Storm and Rev playing. So I mean, I'm sure that's going to be a lively match. A lot of bragging rights on the line. But some teams that have been started the season well. Club V and Vision play tomorrow. Club V came out to the Tour of Texas. We talked about Vision yesterday, coming down to the SCVA and playing there. We have T Street and TAV playing each other. That's a rematch of last year's semifinals. I know it's not exactly the same teams, but T Street really broke TAV's hearts. So I'm sure they're going to be giving some payback tomorrow. And then we have Wave and Tri-State Elite. And, we got to give a big shout out to Tri-State Elite. They kind of fly under the radar a little bit because they don't play the quote unquote open schedule. They kind of do their own thing and kind of have their own format and go to AAUs. But if you look at their teams that they have here, they're all really good quality teams. So to see their 16s in the quarterfinals is really awesome. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they upset Wave and took it to them. But, time will tell.
I hope Brennan's not listening.
Brennan doesn't coach that team.
No, I know Scott coaches that team, but I'm just saying, like, since Brennan's the director, I'm just hoping that he's not listening to at the moment.
Well, Brennan, we've given his club, if he is listening, quite a bit of love at the tour, right? We did a lot of videos on them and stuff. So we love Brennan. We love Wave. I talk about him all the time. So one of the things, well, I can get a little bit of trouble, but okay, this is why people listen. You listen. Okay. Wave does one of probably, in terms of teaching passing, and they're probably one of the tops in the country. They don't have the big hitters. They don't have the big athletes all the time. When they do, they win. But I mean, if they could teach passing to 90% of the clubs in the country, Brennan would be a billionaire. He's got to figure out how to monetize that training and that teaching to the rest of the country. I only want 3%.
That's a good deal.
It.
I would be fine with that.
I think so, right? But I mean, a lot of, right, Cam? I mean, a lot of the actual SoCal schools, schools, clubs, I mean, they kind of have to, right? It's kind of that beachy, kind of cagey, scrappy ball control. I mean, that's kind of what they're known for, is it not?
100%. Yeah. I mean, because that's like, I mean, I grew up there, right? So that's all we did was like create little mini courts in our backyards and just play and play and play and play. Just never, it was just common, which is sort of funny to think about, especially for boys, right? It was just normal for us to do. But yeah, that's kind of the culture down there is ball control and, that style of play. A California style play is very well known, I would say, or especially Southern California.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to shift to 15s on everybody real quick. Texas teams are representing well. TAV and Mad Frog are going to square off. They know each other super well. I think it might be the third time, if not fourth time they're playing. Alamo, we talked about them last night. They made it out. They're in the quarterfinals. Good for them. Houston Skyline, they kind of struggled, to be honest, at the second tour stop. I was kind of surprised. But, in 2 weeks, they kind of got back on track. They're alive still. And you have Coast and T Street squaring off. And then A5, we saw A5 out the tour. They had some up and downs, but it's nice to see them there. And then Legacy, that's not a shock. I watched them today play the Hawaii team. Really good match. Yeah, shout out to, I'm going to get her name wrong, but I'm know her last name Sheldon, but Lauren, the middle, number 9. One of the dads was just shaking his head. He's like, oh my God, we cannot stop this girl. And she hits the ball so freaking hard.
It's nice to have big middles.
It is. And they have 2 big middles, and they know how to get on the ball, which it's one thing to have middles. It's another thing to feed them. I'm thinking of
That's why I don't understand why so many people don't want to play middle when middles are so valuable. I had this argument in at Louisville at the Final Four with some coaches, but I just think if you're good in the middle, there's always going to be a spot for you to play because everyone needs them, right? And everyone wants to get out of the middle. But I'm like, if you're good and you're killing it, you should stay there because there's going to be more opportunities for you. But everybody hates it. But I've never won a championship without good middles, not one time. So,
well, Sam, does that ring close to your heart?
Yeah, I mean, yes. As somebody who played in the middle, loved running her. Like I tell people, like all of our kids are like, I don't get set in the middle. I don't get set in the middle. I'm like, look, like first off, your job is to also go block. That was like my favorite part of being a middle blocker. At the college level, we're trying to run her middles. And like Cam said, like, if you're a middle, good Lord, like, I mean, I recruited kids that were playing in the middle that didn't end up playing in the middle for me when I was coaching collegiately because they were versatile and we could use them however we wanted to. And can I just tell you how many college coaches I've talked to in the last 2 days here that still need middles, by the way, and want a middle? And any of if you were to talk to the majority of the college coaches that are here, that are all represented, all the different levels that are here representing, I'm telling you, 90% of them are saying, I need a middle. I need a middle. Do you have a middle? I'd love to have a middle.
Pretty common.
I'm all about middles. Let's go.
We should give Balin a tick. I need a middle. I need a middle. I need a middle.
Friend. I don't think he knows who Balin is. Cam, do you know who Balin Dupree is?
No. I was just playing along.
Balin out loud. She has Tourette's and like a very, very severe form and attention deficit disorder and OCD. Like it's, but it does provide a certain amount of entertainment until they get very emotional and like the personal side of the show. And you're like, I really want to laugh, but I understand you're human and I do feel for you.
Yeah.
I want to hug her.
Yeah.
I do. I want to invite her over and take her on our trips and bring her to volleyball tournaments.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
I think volleyball could help.
Yeah, I bet.
Anyways, we do love her. We love the show. Moving on to less sensitive topics. 17s. We talked about the Texas teams last night too. And I said, I feel like I'm biased now living in Texas because I have these teams all like 4 or 5 teams ranked in the top 10 or top 15. But you know who's in the quarterfinals? Austin Skyline, Mad Frog, Dallas Skyline, TAV. That's half of the top 8.
Who are the other?
The big prize is Game Point, 17 Rocks. Shout out to them. They took down Legacy in 3. That's like a huge upset. They also beat Houston Skyline. So, I mean, they beat 2 of our top 10 teams to get there. That's really good. And another Florida club in Winter Park is there too. So, and then A5, and then kind of a little bit of a surprise, Illini Elite. Although we saw them in Central Zone, I don't know if it's a surprise. They're having an amazing year, and I think they're kind of showing that they deserve to be up there in the conversation right now. So good for them.
Will your rankings change post Triple Crown, Christopher?
Poquito.
Okay. We're going with Spanish now. You speak Spanish?
Sí.
Clearly, you're going to move Sunshine 16 LA like really far up after our almost win today.
Top. Hey, if it was based on coaching, they would be number 1.
Yeah,
but
cool.
at least top 5 based on part.
I mean, it makes sense. It's justifiable. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So we're gonna shift gears just slightly because for those of us, or for those I'm listening to, but for everybody else listening as well, Cam, not only does he coach Sunshine, but he's also the head coach at Miracosta High School out of Manhattan Beach. And just a little quick background, in the mid to late 2000s, Miracosta was national champions. They had the top high school program in the whole country, very historic program. And like every high school, they're going to have some ebb and flow, some ups and downs. They had some down years. And then, Cam, when did you take over?
2018, 17? This will be my 8th season, but one of them was COVID. So, yeah.
Got you. But you've done a tremendous, phenomenal job in really bringing that program back into national championship conversations. And, it was I think 2 years ago, if you guys would have won a match here or there, you would have ended up number 1 in our rankings. But you've done a great job of just kind of restoring the winning aspect and just kind of the tradition. Do you want to share a little bit of insight?
Well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate it. It means a ton to me because I graduated from Miracosta. I grew up in that community, and just being in my position is massive because it's like when I was a kid, I was going to Costa volleyball games, watching Holly McPeak and Eric Fenoy Moana, and you just hear these names and you're like, oh, I want to do that. That looks awesome. So being in this position is amazing. I think number one, I've been also really blessed over the last few years with tons of talent and athletes that just love this sport. So I've been really grateful for that. It's been really cool to be a part of the journey. I think the culture was the main thing I was trying to bring back and to build an environment that was competitive and open and honest. I think that's a big thing where I'm very transparent about what I'm doing, why I'm doing it. And because it's a difficult job in terms of building the teams, each year that changes. And so I think the one thing that I wanted to bring into this environment is just that full transparency, and you're going to know exactly what you're going to get and where you stand, and that way everyone can just kind of grow and accept their roles, and that's been, I think, a big factor in all this. I don't know another way to do it. It's so cutthroat there, and I try. It's so hard. I cut kids that are really talented every year. and it's heartbreaking. You should see me like hitting, like getting ready to hit send on that email. It's like, it's really tough because I know what it feels like to be in their shoes and want this so badly. So, like I said, I'm lucky to have the talent I had, like the Charlie Furbringers of the world. It just kind of made my life easy, but
I was going to just bring her up because for those of us, or for those listening who don't know, I mean, she's from Miracosta. She was running a 5-1 at Wisconsin. What was it like having her as your setter? Did you have to tell her much, or did you just say go play?
Yeah, a little bit of both. I think, at first the most important thing for me was like building building trust between us as a coach. Because she didn't know me, she knew who I was, but she didn't know how I was as a coach. And she was raised in an environment with these incredible coaches that are mom and dad, Matt and Joy, and so that's a lot to walk into. And so that was my initial like plan with her, is just to build the trust and sort of let it organically happen on how I was going to coach her and what she needed from me and when. And so obviously I knew she knew the game already, right? So, but I talked to her mom and dad leading in. I said, number one, like, are you guys cool with me, like, really coaching? Like, can I talk to her about technique on her setting, because I might have some ideas that are different than hers, so. And they were very like, anything you want. They were awesome, super supportive. But it grew pretty quickly, our relationship, in terms of trust, and then it was more like, hey, are we on the same page here? Occasionally I would say like, hey, we have to run this and this and this, but almost always we were on the same page. And then it was like introducing new ideas to her, just to get her to think about like all the capabilities, because obviously you could tell in like 2 seconds this girl can literally do anything in the game of volleyball. And I coached Micah Christensen for 4 years at USC on the men's side, and to me, like, she's the same as Micah, like can physically do anything in the game, can set, can hit, can pass, like it literally could play any position. And I mean, I've been really blessed in my career with these setters that I've been around. I think they probably taught me more than I've taught them, for sure. But yeah, and at some point it was, you let Charlie go, and then we talk about an offensive game plan, and she was actually really cool about sticking with the plan unless something needed to change. But she was really easy to coach, and I was, I'm really grateful to have been part of her journey for 3 years.
Yeah, somebody we're missing out on seeing this weekend, who you also coach at Miracosta, who's also committed to Wisconsin, plays for SBC 17's Audrey Flanagan. So you do have some talent at that high school, apparently.
Yeah, man, it's sort of crazy. And then you start hearing the rumors of like these 6th graders that are already 6 feet tall or whatever, and you're just kind of like so happy. But yeah, Audrey's really, she's here. It's been tough for her. I talked to her before we both took off for the tournament, and she just really wants to get it right. Her knee wasn't a huge issue. It was like just simple surgery, but she just really wanted to make sure that she's 100%, because she just needed to be. But this is killing her, I know, and because she's so competitive. She's like the sweetest kid ever, and you would never get that she's fierce and competitively, because just like her demeanor and how she acts, she's so sweet. But like when it comes down to competing, like she's played through everything. Like we were in the playoffs, she had mono. She's like, I'm good, and never complains. Like, not like, she isn't someone that wears it, like some people will be like, hey, look at me, I'm sick and I'm playing, whatever. Like, she just looked the same, and her knee would bug her all season. Her knee was, kind of bugging her, and she just was waiting until the playoffs were over. So she's really tough. One of the sweetest kids I know, and Wisconsin's getting a good one for sure. But I'm stoked I got one more season with her.
Yeah. You know who I saw yesterday, just walking around the convention center, was the head coach at Ilani High School, who hosts the prestigious Ann King Invitational out in Honolulu every August. And he's told me some of the schools who are coming. Byron Nelson is coming back, which is awesome. They were actually our national champion this year for high school. Of course, you guys go there a lot. And when I was doing the previews last year, I happened to make a prediction. And I go with my heart. I got to leave the relationships and the people out of it, because obviously I love Tommy too at Redondo.
Yeah, me too.
But that kind of was a funny story. And is there anything you want to share about that story?
Well, yeah, I was, as a competitor, you're like, oh, they're gonna lose to Byron Nelson and then lose to Redondo in the playoffs, and I'm like, wait, what the hell are you talking about? I was so mad at first because you're just assuming we're going to get second place in our pool, and then you're going to assume we're going to lose to Redondo. We hadn't lost to Redondo in 2 years, and so yeah, at first I was like, this is BS, and I was trying to use it as like motivation to tell the team, and I think it completely backfired because literally the exact thing that you said was going to happen happened. And granted, we lost to Byron Nelson 16-14 in the third, and it was man. I wish we won that match. That match bums me out. And then of course Redondo they just came out firing, and we were in the lead in the first set, and also in the second set, and then we just couldn't keep it. So, and afterwards I was like, damn it, Chris. And Kara, I think I even mentioned to you, like, Chris's predictions are pissing me off right now. It's pretty impressive because you nailed it exactly and in the exact round, but. Yeah. How about you predict it differently this year? That'd be great for me.
Well, we'll talk about it. There's some time to tell, but I mean, I get
his chest. Puff your chest.
Okay, a little bit, but it also hurts because I love Cam.
Oh, bullshit, Chris. Shut up.
You loved it. You loved it. It's okay. You should love it. That was impressive. I'll give you props for that.
Yeah.
Didn't Tommy come and knock on your door at like the night before?
I think you knocked on Tommy's door.
Who read it? How did it go down, Kim?
Someone sent it to me. I think Geeter sent it to me. Millie's dad.
Geeter. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. You guys know that Geeter and I are college teammates and roommates, right?
No.
Yeah,
no.
Literally at Northridge, we shared a room in our apartment together for 2 years. Yeah. We got some good stories, but yeah, that's how I heard it first. And I think Tommy and I had a laugh about it in the hallway. So, but that was crazy. But yeah, that was. I mean, look, Redondo played great too, and we battled with Byron Nelson, so it was all fun. But yeah, I still couldn't believe it. I was like, damn it, Chris. Not cool, man.
Yeah. Well, Miracosta and Redondo are what, 1 mile apart? I mean, they're close.
Yeah, 2 miles maybe. Yeah, and so we've been rivals for years, and but fortunately, Tommy's such an amazing guy, and I've known Tommy since I was 16 years old, probably just a little grum running around on the beach. So we've always been really cool with each other, and we kind of look out for each other in terms of our community, which can be pretty rough at times to coaches. So we kind of always try to have each other's back, and we have a big mutual respect for each other. So it's fun. I love competing against him. He's the best. No,
the Dalai Lama once met Tommy Chafins and said, "Oh my God, that is an optimistic and positive guy."
I'm pretty sure that's true. Yeah.
Have you ever met anybody more optimistic and positive than Tommy? I mean, he's like an amazing guy.
I know. I don't think so. Yeah, and that like bleeds into his teams too, which is cool. I think that's part of what makes him such a good coach is, he lives and breathes that, and it like pushes it onto his teams, which you can tell when they play.
I love watching him coach. He's kind of a crazy man on the sidelines, but it's really fun.
Yeah. No, and it's like he holds you accountable, which I think is what it makes him so good. Is his style of coaching is very unique in terms of like it's very black and white. Like you do your job or you are out, and then I'm going to find someone that will. And so if you can learn how to play for him, I think you can really actually excel because you can handle so much because he just doesn't mess around and. Everyone knows it, and you just got to deal with it. And some people can, some people can't. But I think that's part of what makes him a good coach is, he's relentless with it, and you learn how to be do your job on the court and be accountable for your teammates, right? Like, I think it's actually cool, but it's fun to watch him.
We're going to Hawaii this year. We didn't go last year because we had just gotten through our move, and I wanted to go home and like live at home. We moved, Chris and I moved to Texas, and Sam. We moved in April. Sam moved in the summer, but we moved in April. And by the time we got to nationals, we had spent more time on the road than we had spent at our house. Like we were gone so long. So it was like we just wanted to go home and go to bed and hang out with the kids. And
I don't blame you.
This year,
that's a problem when you're Airbnb-ing the house you live in. You're like, wait, is it available?
That also makes it hard.
Hopefully it's available. I'm back in town this weekend.
Yeah, I'm stoked you guys will be out there. It's a fun tournament. I think they do a great job. It's a good way to start the season, I think, for sure, because it's tough, and especially I love playing the Hawaiian teams because you got to battle. They can play some defense. You learn a lot playing those teams.
Yeah,
they can pass and they can set.
Oh,
they got a whole island of passers and setters.
For sure.
That is true.
Although they have some big kids right now. You saw some big kids. Who was you sent me a name, Chris, earlier, Taimani.
Yeah.
Taimani Ainuu. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. If not, I apologize. But I'm pretty sure
she was a freshman at Iolani, or still is. She plays for Kauukoa 15s. She basically runs a 5-1, although late in the third set, they kind of switched their lineup, let her swing a little bit. But she comes with a lot of high praise. She's very, very talented, very smooth. Got the whole Hawaiian vibe. Doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. But she's got amazing hands, and she's tall. She's like 6 foot, 6'1". So we'll be putting out a video of her pretty soon, so everybody will know about her.
Cool. All right. Well, we're wrapping up. We have day 3 tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do the live tomorrow because we had to actually change our flight to fly.
We might be able to do it from the airport. I don't know. No, we can find out. We could see.
Okay. We'll give it a shot.
All right. Well, Cam, again, thank you so much. I know it was short notice when we reached out to you tonight, but we really do appreciate you making accommodations and just loved having you on.
Thanks so much. I was grateful for the invitation for sure. So I appreciate it, and I had fun with you guys. I'll anytime.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well,
okay.
Bye.
All right.
Right. Bye, everybody.